The World Conference on Youth 2014 commenced this morning at the Magam Ruhunpura International Convention Centre in Hambantota. The inaugural session of the WCY 2014 was held under the auspices of President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Youth representatives from over 150 countries are currently in the island to take part in this conference, along with a number of youth affairs ministers from across the globe. President Mahinda Rajapaksa was the chief guest of the occasion. The inaugural ceremony was also graced by President of the General Assembly of the United Nations, John Williams Ash, and the United Nations Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, Ahmad El-Handawi.
The voice of young people has never been stronger. Young people today are sharing the same struggle to realize common aspirations, from education to decent employment, from living healthy to living peacefully, from being recognized not only as numbers or beneficiaries, but as assets and partners in development. The challenges are daunting. As you are debating here these coming days, I would like to invite you all to join the Global Partnership for Youth in the Post-2015 Development Agenda and to crowdsource your priorities and targets in the coming agenda.
Truly, this is about you. It is your planet. You and your kids will inherit it. So whatever you do, you need, if you haven't done so before, you do need to get involved. This is something we are talking about, the future. And as I said until today, I was thinking of it as the future that you would inherit. It is a future that belongs to you. You have to do your best to ensure it, to make sure you are here. So your voices need to be heard. We need to be more strategic in how we devise our goals. Make sure they're meaningful, make sure we know how to implement them, and more importantly, have ways in which we can check what progress we are making.
Together and sing out, all right?
The official theme song of the World Conference on Youth was performed at the event, which brought the gathering alive yet again. Head of State, President Mahinda Rajapaksa, then addressed the gathering.
The primary responsibility to ensure youth participation in development lies with the state. We as leaders and policymakers need to consider a number of challenges to make this effort meaningful and successful. From a traditional policymaker's perspective, all too often, the question asked, when you raise the issue of youth involvement in any societal processes, do they have the expertise, capacity, knowledge, experience, leadership, and the resources? Youth are seen as dependents or beneficiaries and not as active partners who can also contribute to good outcomes. Leaving aside these dominant perceptions, we have to recognize that today's youth have evolved and need opportunities to participate and contribute to a social progress. We need to readjust our traditional and conventional policy-making structures and institutions to accommodate youth participation. Our thinking has to change. We need to make that leap in policy and thinking when it comes to youth. Sri Lanka accords special attention to the needs and aspiration of our significant youth population. Having experienced two violent youth insurgencies in 1971 and 1989, we are mindful of the cause that create violent discontent. More importantly, Sri Lanka has recognized that economic and social development was most successful when young people became active stakeholders in policy formation and implementation. I wish to appeal to all of you, the young people who represent the world, to regard your country as sacred. It cannot be second to any of your interests. Nor can it be sacrificed for any given whatsoever. And again, there may be outside pressure to compromise your love for your country. But all such pressures must be resisted at any cost.
A traditional performance concluded the opening ceremony.
Man cannot discover new oceans without losing sight of the shore. The 5-member Sri Lankan delegation, comprising of members from Newsfirst and Sri Lanka Youth, which undertook a novel initiative to go around the world in just 40 days on the 27th of March this year, arrived in Sri Lanka last evening.
The national flag of Sri Lanka was officially handed over to the national team by President Mahinda Rajapaksa at the Carlton House in Tangol on the southern tip of Sri Lanka on the 27th of March.
Just as the old did, the Sri Lankan delegation left the island with a sense of purpose, that is to create awareness on the World Conference on Youth 2014. The team was escorted to the Stein Convention Center from the Bandaranaike International Airport, where a cultural event was organized to celebrate the success of the Around the World tour. Youth delegates from a number of countries attended the cultural event organized by Newsfirst, MTV MBC Media Network and Sri Lanka Youth. A group including senior officials of the Capital Maharaja Organization Limited as well as officials from the National Youth Services Council were present. The national flag of Sri Lanka, which was handed over to the team by President Mahinda Rajapaksa at Carlton House in Tangol in March, was officially handed over to the Secretary to the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Skills Development.
Now the next song is the official song of the Around the World in 40 Days tour team, which was produced by Newsfirst together with the MTV MBC Media Network.
The event came to a close with the performance of the official song composed for the Around the World in 40 Days tour. The event came to a close with the performance of the official song composed for the Around the World in 40 Days tour.
නවදිනකට සිතුවිලි සකසා දෙනු රට ගැන මොහොතක් සිතලා එක් වී බැඳී ඉන්න සාමය පතුරාලා ඉදිරියටම